Your fear of losing is bankrupting you, not metaphorically, literally, right now, in this exact moment, as you're watching this. That fear is costing you money not in the markets, but in the trades you're not taking because you're terrified of the next loss. Think about yesterday. Think about last week. How many setups did you see that matched your criteria perfectly, but you didn't pull the trigger? You watched the price action unfold exactly as your system predicted, and you were too afraid to execute. That's the cost of your fear, not the losses you took. The trades you didn't take because losing felt too painful. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. You don't have a trading problem, you have a loss aversion problem. And until you completely reconstruct your relationship with losing, you will never, and I mean never, achieve consistent profitability. Not with a better indicator, not with a different time frame, not with a larger account, not with anything. The system doesn't matter, your psychology does. And right now, your psychology is fundamentally broken. This isn't meant to hurt your feelings, this is meant to wake you up. Let me take you back to something ancient. I'm talking about your brain. Specifically, I'm talking about the operating system your brain is running, and it's been running the same code for roughly 200,000 years. You're not a modern creature making decisions in a modern environment. You're a survivor. Your ancestors survived on the African savanna by being absolutely, viscerally terrified of loss. Not loss in the abstract sense, real loss. The loss of food, the loss of shelter, the loss of tribe, the loss of life itself. When your ancestor encountered a predator, the response wasn't intellectual. It wasn't, let me weigh my options. The response was biological, chemical, instantaneous. The amygdala flooded the system with cortisol and adrenaline. The primitive brain took over, and that survival mechanism, that screaming, desperate fear, kept them alive. Fast forward 200,000 years, you're sitting at a screen. A chart moves against you. Your position is down $50, and your brain fires up the exact same system. Cortisol, adrenaline. Your hands start to sweat. Your heart rate accelerates. Your entire nervous system is screaming at you to get out now. Because to your reptilian brain, losing money is losing food. It is threat to survival. Your biology cannot tell the difference between a financial loss and an existential threat, and that's the trap. So, you do what your biology tells you to do. You panic. You move your stop loss. You average down, hoping to reduce the pain. You hold on to the position, thinking that if you just don't look at the account balance, maybe it will turn around. Eventually, you blow the account. You tell yourself you're a bad trader. You log onto YouTube. You search best day trading strategy, and the cycle begins again. But here's what you're not seeing. You're not a bad trader. You're not lacking intelligence. You're not missing some secret indicator that the gurus have. You have an outdated biological operating system trying to solve a modern mathematical problem, and that operating system will always sabotage you because it's running on survival instinct, not probability mathematics. This is critical to understand. The pain you feel when you take a loss is not a signal that you're doing something wrong. The pain is a malfunction. It's a bug in your operating system. And the only way to profit consistently is to completely overwrite that default programming. Now, I want you to understand something about the industry you're in. The trading education industry, and I'm going to be brutally honest here, is built on your fear of losses. It's predicated on it. Every YouTube video you watch that promises a holy grail system or a 99% win rate strategy is explicitly targeting your fear. It's saying, what if you never have to lose again? What if every trade is a winner? And you want to believe it so badly. You want to believe it because the thought of taking another loss makes your stomach turn. So what do? You buy the course, you learn the system, you take a few trades, and inevitably, you hit a loss. Now, here's the psychology. When you hit that loss, your brain doesn't think, well, this is part of the statistical distribution of this edge. This is expected. Your brain thinks, this system is broken. I need a different system, because the promise was that you would never lose. And now that you have, the system has failed. So you search for another system, and another, and another. Until you've bought 17 different trading courses, studied 42 different indicators, and you're back at square one, paralyzed by fear and deeper in debt than when you started. This is system hopping, and it's the most efficient way to destroy your trading career while making money for every guru on the internet. Here's what you need to understand. There is no holy grail system, not because the system doesn't exist, but because the holy grail isn't a system. The holy grail is accepting that you will lose. Regularly, violently, repeatedly. In fact, the best trading edges in the world have win rates between 40 and 60%. That means every trader worth billions of dollars is losing on more than 4 out of every 10 trades. Think about that. The top 1% of traders in the world are wrong more often than they're right, but they're still massively profitable. Why? Because they understand something that most traders don't. A single trade is statistically meaningless. What matters is the next 1,000 trades. This is the concept of statistical distribution, and it will fundamentally change how you relate to every loss you take. Imagine I give you 2 coins. I tell you that each coin will result in heads or tails, and I'm going to flip each coin 10 times. With coin 1, I get 8 heads and 2 tails. With coin 2, I get 5 heads and 5 tails. The coins appear different, but if I flip each coin 10,000 times, they'll converge to roughly 50-50. The 8 heads in 10 flips was just noise, variance. It meant nothing about the actual edge. Trading works exactly the same way. A single loss tells you nothing about whether your edge is working. A single win tells you nothing about whether your edge is working. It's only after hundreds of trades, thousands, ideally, that the true edge begins to reveal itself through the noise. But here's what stops most traders from getting to that point. They take a loss, and they assume the coin is broken. They're convinced the system doesn't work. They abandon the strategy and chase something new, and in doing so, they never give their actual edge a chance to express itself. This is why system hopping is death. Not because the systems are bad, but because consistency comes from conviction. Conviction comes from understanding that losses are required to access the edge. They're not bugs, they're features. Now, I want to paint 2 pictures for you, very specific pictures. I want you to feel the difference between them, viscerally. The first picture, the toxic loss. You're in a trade. It's a setup that felt really good when you entered. You had a feeling about it, an intuition. Maybe you deviated slightly from your rules because the setup just looked right. The position is against you. You check the chart, down 2%, then 3. You start to feel hot. Your palms get damp. You tell yourself it will turn around. You've seen this move reverse before. You pull up the chart on your phone. Every 5 seconds, every 2 seconds, you're staring at the 1-minute chart watching the price tick down. Your brain is screaming. You consider averaging down. You actually go to click the button. Then you stop, but you're thinking about it. The loss is now 4%. 5. You feel physically sick. Then you see a tweet from some trader who hit a 20% winner today, and you think, how did I miss that? Why can't I see what he sees? Now you're not just losing money. You're comparing yourself to imaginary versions of other traders. Your loss feels even worse because someone else made what you didn't. The loss hits 6%. You tell yourself that if it just reverses 10%, you'll break even and you'll close it. But that's not how probability works. You're now hoping for a move in your favor. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is surrender. Eventually, the loss becomes so painful that you can't look at it anymore. You close the position at a 7% loss, and you feel a wave of relief wash over you. But it's not the relief of a closed position. It's the relief of escaping pain. And now your brain has learned something. Pulling out of a losing position feels better than sitting with it. So next time you're in drawdown, your brain will whisper, remember how good it felt to close that last loss? And you'll close again and again until you've locked in losses on 50 trades in a row while the market moves in your favor 100 times. This is the toxic loss. And it's toxic because you took it emotionally. You didn't plan for it. You didn't understand it as a business expense. You fought it. You hoped against it. and when it finally happened, you closed it in desperation. Now, the second picture, the professional loss. You're in a trade. It meets every single criterion of your edge. Not 90%, 100%. You entered exactly where the plan said to enter. Your stop loss is set at exactly the risk level you calculated before you ever opened the position. You took a position size so mechanically calibrated that you know, mathematically, that even if you lose 10 in a row, it won't move your account by more than 2%. The trade moves against you. The price hits your stop. Your position closes. You feel absolutely nothing. And this is critical. You feel nothing because you're supposed to feel nothing. You took the loss exactly where you planned to take it. It was calculated. It was predetermined. It was mechanical. This is what the professional understands that the amateur doesn't. A loss at your stop loss is not a failure. It's the successful execution of your plan. You did everything right. The setup was there. You pulled the trigger. The stop was hit. The loss is closed. Done. Think about a casino. When someone hits a jackpot and the casino pays out $1 million, the casino doesn't panic. The casino doesn't shake. The casino doesn't move their stop loss and try to avoid the payout. The casino is calm, mechanical, unmoved, because the casino understands probability. The casino knows that across 1,000 jackpots, they still come out massively ahead. They don't fear the individual loss. You must become the casino, not the gambler. The casino. The difference between these two losses isn't luck. It isn't intelligence. It's preparation. The professional loss is professional because it was completely scripted before you ever entered the trade. The toxic loss is toxic because you're improvising, you're hoping, you're trying to outsmart the market in real time. And the market will always humiliate you when you try to outsmart it. Always. This is where I want to introduce a concept that will fundamentally change how you execute trades, the algorithmic awakening. Most traders think that automation is a trading bot, a computer executing trades while you sleep. And sure, that's a form of automation. But there's another form of automation that's actually more powerful. It's automation of yourself. It's becoming a bot. It's stripping away human judgment entirely and replacing it with predetermined rules. Here's the reality. Your brain is too slow. Your brain is too emotional. Your brain is too prone to rationalization. Whenever you enter a trade and you have any moment to think about it, your amygdala is working overtime, trying to convince you that this is a bad idea, that you should wait for a better setup, that this time is different, that the market is going to crush you. The professional trader doesn't give their brain time to think. The professional trader creates rules before they ever see a chart. And then, when the setup appears, they execute those rules with zero hesitation, not because they're brave, but because they're not thinking, they're not deliberating, they're automating. If the setup meets your criteria, you pull the trigger. Full stop, no hesitation, no deliberation, no waiting for additional confirmation. Because if you're waiting, if you're thinking, if you're trying to get more confirmation, you're making an assumption. You're assuming that you know what the market is going to do next. And the truth is, you don't. Nobody does. The most sophisticated algorithm in the world can't predict the next tick. So why do you think you can by staring at the chart a bit longer? Hesitation is arrogance. Hesitation is saying, I know what's about to happen, and I'm going to wait for it. You don't know. The only thing you know is that, historically, when the market has done X, Y, and Z, the probability of a profitable trade has been positive. That's your edge. That's all your edge is. A probabilistic advantage across 1,000 similar setups. So when you see X, Y, and Z, you pull the trigger. Full size, full risk, mechanically, without thinking, because thinking is where the amateur goes to die. This is the algorithmic awakening. And it's not about computers. It's about removing yourself, your emotions, your intuition, your gut feelings, your hunches, entirely from the execution process. Let me be specific. When you enter a trade, you should feel nothing. No excitement, no fear, no anticipation. If you feel anything, you're not automated enough. If you feel excitement when you enter a winning trade, your position size is too big. If you feel fear when you enter a trade, your position size is too big. The goal is to achieve a state where entering a trade feels exactly like pressing a button to check your email. Mechanical, routine, devoid of emotional content. This is the target. This is what separates the traders who survive from the traders who blow up. Now, I'm going to give you something that most trading content will never give you. A concrete, actionable protocol to desensitize yourself to the pain of losing. This is not theory. This is a practical roadmap. And if you follow it precisely, I can promise you that within 60 days, the pain of losing will be cut by at least 80%. And within 6 months, you'll look at a loss and feel almost nothing. There are 3 components to this protocol. The first component, fracture the risk. Your position size is too big. I don't even know what your position size is, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that it's too big, because if it was the right size, you wouldn't be watching this video looking for solutions. You'd be calmly executing your system because the risk on each trade was so small that a loss is literally inconsequential. Here's what I want you to do. Take your current position size and cut it by 80%. I'm not exaggerating. 80%. If you're currently trading 5 contracts, you're now trading 1 contract. If you're currently risking 1% of your account per trade, you're now risking 0.2%. This is going to feel impossibly small. You'll feel like you're wasting your time. You'll think, if I'm only making pocket change on winners, what's the point? And that's exactly the mindset that confirms you're ready for this step. Because you're still thinking in terms of money. But we're not trying to make money right now. We're trying to reprogram your nervous system. We're trying to make losses so mathematically insignificant that your amygdala doesn't trigger a survival response. A loss of $50 doesn't make your heart race. A loss of $500 might. So, until you can lose $500 and feel absolutely nothing, you need to trade at a size where your maximum loss is $50, maybe even $10. I know it sounds absurd. Do it anyway. This is the foundational step, because you cannot reprogram your nervous system while you're in physical pain, and losing money at the wrong position size is physical pain. So first, make losing painless. Then, once you've rewired the neural pathways, you can scale up. The second component, the cost of doing business ledger. Most traders keep a trading journal. They log their trades. They note their thoughts, they try to extract lessons, and this is useful. But I want you to do something different. I want you to create a separate ledger, and I want to call it explicitly what it is: your cost of doing business log. Every loss, instead of being logged as a trade, is logged as a business expense. You're running a trading business, and like any business, there are costs. A restaurant has food costs. A store has inventory costs. A trading business has loss costs. That's what keeps the whole operation running. Those losses are what give you access to the edge. So instead of logging EUR, USD long, 1.05 entry, 1.049 stop, negative 20 pips, reason, oversold on RSI, you log it like this. Business expense. Cost of gaining statistical evidence that my mean reversion edge is working. Daily expense sheet, entry, 1.05, stop, 1.049, cost, 20 pips, total operating expenses, this month, 340 pips. This is a subtle shift, but it's profound, because language shapes thought, and thought shapes emotion, and emotion shapes execution. When you reframe losses as business expenses, your brain stops interpreting them as failures. It interprets them as operational costs, necessary friction, the price of admission to a profitable system. A casino never says, "We lost $10,000 on that jackpot payout." A casino says, "Today's operating expenses were $10,000. Operating income was $15,000. Net income, $5,000. The casino is consistently profitable because it doesn't feel the individual losses. It sees them as line items in a P&L statement. You must think like a business owner, not a trader. And a business owner doesn't panic about individual operational costs. They monitor the overall profitability of the operation. So, create that ledger. Track your losses as business expenses, and watch how your emotional relationship with losing begins to shift. The third component, the 2-0 trade neutrality challenge. Here's what I want you to do. After you've cut your position size and you've set up your business expenses ledger, I want you to assign yourself a mandatory challenge. For the next 20 trades, and I mean exactly 20 trades, no more, no less, your only objective is flawless execution. That's it. That's the entire goal. It's not to make money. It's not to avoid losses. It's to execute every trade exactly according to your predetermined plan, and then to accept the loss or the win with complete emotional neutrality. So trade 20 times. It doesn't matter if you win 12 and lose 8. It doesn't matter if you lose 15 and win 5. The only thing that matters is that on all 20 trades, you, 1, entered exactly where the plan said to enter. 2, exited exactly where the plan said to exit. 3, took the loss or the win with no emotional response. That's it. That's the entire challenge. And here's why it works. Because once you've accepted 20 consecutive losses with neutrality, your brain begins to rewire. You've proven to yourself that losing doesn't actually kill you. You're still here. Your account is fine. You're alive. And that's the crucial shift that needs to happen. After 20 trades of pure execution focus, return to your normal trading. Bring all 3 components with you, and watch what happens. Your hesitation will evaporate. Your fear will recede. Because you've given your nervous system concrete evidence that losses are survivable. This is the core truth that I need you to understand as I bring this to a close. Profitability doesn't come from better indicators. It doesn't come from a newer system. It doesn't come from trading bigger. It doesn't come from trading more frequently. Profitability comes from your ability to accept losses with the same emotional detachment that a casino accepts a jackpot payout. Every single trader who is profitable has solved this problem. Every trader who is not profitable has not. That's the only variable that matters. You can have the best edge in the world, a setup that works 60% of the time in your favor, but if you can't emotionally tolerate the 40% of the time that it doesn't work, you'll never make a dime. You'll abandon the strategy. You'll go back to system hopping. You'll blow another account. Conversely, you can have a mediocre edge, a setup that works 55% of the time, and if you can completely detach emotion from execution, you'll eventually be wealthy. Because time and probability will work in your favor. The system is irrelevant. Your psychology is everything. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Think about where you are right now. Are you in the phase where you haven't even started yet, and the thought of taking a loss terrifies you? Are you in the system hopping phase, constantly chasing the holy grail? Are you in the toxic loss phase, where you close trades in desperation? Are you somewhere in between? Comment below exactly which stage you're trapped in. Be honest. Brutal honesty. Because I want to see how many traders are still caught in the same psychological trap, and how many of you are ready to actually break free. And if you're serious about this, if you're tired of the YouTube trading content that promises everything and delivers nothing, subscribe. Because this channel isn't about indicators. It's not about the latest strategy. It's about the unfiltered, ungimmicked truth about what makes traders profitable. And that's psychological. Always has been. Always will be. Your edge doesn't make you money. Your ability to execute that edge, emotionally, consistently, and without hesitation, makes you money. Everything else is noise. Stop fearing losses. Start profiting from them.